So they say, if you have the ability to love, love yourself first. Charles Bukowski. I've heard that quote so many times before, but it never truly landed until something unexpected happened to me just last week. I was in Utah, surrounded by mountains, silence, and space to breathe, both literally and emotionally. I had the chance to join a guided breathwork session, something I'd never done before. Honestly, I was skeptical. I thought, how powerful could just breathing be? But as life often teaches us, the most powerful things are usually the simplest. So I gave it a try. And what unfolded in that 1 hour might just be one of the most profound turning points in my life. Today, I want to share this moment with you. Because maybe, just maybe, it's something you need to hear right now too. The session started gently. Our instructor, Jen, asked us to write down one thing we wanted to focus on during the session. Just one. I stared at the blank page and wrote, I want to understand the walls I build around myself. That day I realized, I've been living inside an invisible prison, one made of stories, fears, and habits I'd normalized for so long, I stopped questioning them. And I know I'm not alone. So many of us live on autopilot. We settle into routines, relationships, jobs, and roles that don't fulfill us. But we stay because, well, that's just how life is, right? That's not life. That's learned helplessness. And it's time we wake up. As we started breathing, a rhythm of in, out, my mind began to drift. It felt like dreaming and remembering at the same time. Jen's voice guided us back to our younger selves, to the parts of us we've forgotten, buried, ignored. Then she said something that cut through me like a blade through fog. We were not meant to suffer, or to hold on to suffering. Let that sink in. Because for me, suffering had become a lifestyle. I had made peace with stress, guilt, and sadness, not as emotions to be healed, but as parts of my identity. I said things like, this job drains me, but hey, that's life. This person hurts me, but I've learned to cope. I'm exhausted, but at least I'm surviving. Sound familiar? But the truth is, we weren't born to just survive. We were born to thrive, to grow, to shed old skins and step into who we're meant to be. That was the real breakthrough. When you truly love the person staring back at you in the mirror, everything changes. You stop living by the opinions of others. You stop letting fear make your decisions. Because how could someone else define your worth? When you finally know it for yourself, that's when you rise. That's when you start climbing back out of the canyon, not with desperation, but with purpose. See, we normalize pain. We adjust to unhappiness. We think, well, that's just life. But no, that's not life. That's learned helplessness. And if you love yourself, truly love yourself, you no longer tolerate it. Self-love is not soft. It's power. It's the fire that burns away everything that's not meant for you. It's the ladder that takes you down to your truth and lifts you back up with strength. I can talk all day about pushing through fear, about breaking barriers, about taking control of your life. But none of it matters until you look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. I believe in you. I choose you. Imagine what you could give to the younger version of yourself. Imagine what you could bring to your family, to your friends, to the world, if you stopped settling for black and white versions of your life and chose to live in full color. Now, let me ask you this. What's the cost of not doing that? We're so used to thinking about what we gain from action, We rarely think about what we lose when we don't. Jim Rohn once said, "Nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity." And it's true. You can measure the effort you put in. But how do you measure what could have been if you never tried? You can say, "I went to the gym every day, and now I'm stronger." But how do you quantify the strength you never built because you never showed up? How do you calculate the dream you never chased? The peace you never found? The life you never lived? Here's the truth. Success doesn't start with money, luck, or talent. It starts with the right attitude. It starts with choosing a different mindset. One that says, "I am worth it. I deserve more. I don't need permission to be powerful." That's the mindset that attracts growth, opportunity, abundance, and joy. Because once you change your mind, you change your life. So now that you've seen the power of self-love, the necessity of inner alignment, let me ask you this. What is it really costing you to stay where you are? A friend once told me he bought a new TV. It cost him $500, but someone wiser said, "No, it's costing you $40,000 a year." Why? Because the real cost isn't what you paid. It's what you gave up. It's the time you'll never get back. The dreams you won't chase while you sit and settle. And that is the invisible tax we all pay, without even noticing. Time is the most precious commodity we have. Not because we can trade it, but because we can't ever get it back. Every minute you spend on something unaligned is a minute stolen from your potential. Every hour lost to distraction is a seed that never gets planted. Have you ever looked at your screen time before bed? It's terrifying. 2 hours a day on your phone doesn't sound like much, until you realize it's 672 hours a year. That's 28 full days, a month of your life, gone. And for what? Every moment, every choice has a cost. Even inaction is a decision. When you say "not today," what are you actually saying no to? You're saying no to the book you'll never write, no to the business you'll never build, no to the body, the peace, the purpose you were meant to experience. And the scariest part is, the world won't remind you. The world won't scream, "Hey, you're wasting your one precious shot at life." That alarm, that wake-up call, you have to ring it yourself. Here's the truth. Success doesn't start with money, luck, or talent. It starts with the right attitude. It starts with choosing a different mindset. One that says, "I am worth it. I deserve more. I don't need permission to be powerful." That's the mindset that attracts growth, opportunity, abundance, and joy. Because once you change your mind, you change your life. Yes, it will feel strange. Yes, it will feel wrong at first. Walking away from what's familiar, even when it's toxic, is never easy. Because our biology isn't wired for happiness. It's wired for survival. That whisper you hear, "Stay. At least you know what to expect." That's not your soul. That's your fear talking. But staying in the wrong place, preserving the wrong version of you, that's not safety. That's self-betrayal. And sometimes, the greatest act of courage is lighting the fuse, watching the old walls collapse, and saying, "I'm walking away." Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. The truth is, those old stories you've told yourself, they're just that, stories. They're not destiny. They're not life sentences. They're chapters waiting to end so the next one can begin. Yes, it might feel abrupt. Yes, it might feel unfair. But here's what's even more unfair. Living a life that never belonged to you in the first place. You deserve to write a new narrative, to cast new characters, to design a setting where you are the main character, not a side note in someone else's dream. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you're waiting for permission, this is your green light. If you're waiting for someday, make that today. Because the wrong now has a funny way of becoming the wrong forever, and the small compromises you make now, they grow into the biggest regrets you'll ever carry. So just go. Go, because you're stronger than you think. Go, because you've outgrown your excuses. Go, because you owe it to your future to stop preserving your past. Safety isn't safe if it keeps you from what you need. Let today be the day you rise. And once you've decided to go, once you've dared to leave behind the familiar and walk toward the unknown, that's when you'll realize the wings you thought were broken were never broken at all. They were just tucked away. Tucked away because it felt safer, because risk meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant pain. But here's the truth. Pain was never your enemy. It was your teacher, your strength in disguise. The beauty of life isn't in its perfection. It's not about flawless execution or pristine timing. It's beautiful because of its chaos. Beautiful because it's unpredictable, messy, real. Beautiful because we get to stumble and rise again. It's not elegance that makes life meaningful. It's promise. The promise that every fall carries a lesson. Every crack lets the light in. Every detour still leads forward if you keep walking. When you build walls around yourself, what's within them becomes your entire world. Fear shrinks the map. Comfort builds a cage. But when you go, truly go, you discover that the world is wide and you are bigger than your doubts. The great irony, what you fear the most, is exactly what you need. The unknown is not your enemy. It's the water that feeds the seed of who you're meant to become. We wait. We overthink. We analyze every decision like it's life or death. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not ready? But we forget that growth doesn't wait for certainty. Growth rewards movement. Forward, one step, any direction. The universe doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for courage. Courage to begin, to fall, to rise, to keep going. You don't need the whole plan. You don't need to see 5 years ahead. You just need the next step. Because as you walk, the road reveals itself, like a bridge built under your feet in real time. Life is less about knowing where you're going and more about who you're becoming along the way. You'll look back one day, not with regret, but with awe, and you'll whisper to yourself, it was all meant to be. The reason we get stuck is because we overcomplicate what's simple. We think happiness is a puzzle. That meaning is locked behind a gate. That joy is reserved for someday. But the truth is, the best things in life have always been simple. Move, choose, go. Ready, fire, aim. Adjust as you go. Fall, learn, pivot, repeat. Don't fear falling. Fear never flying. So if you find yourself wondering, where will I be in 5 years? Maybe the better question is, where will I be if I don't go now? Because the only thing that truly changes the game is how you see yourself. You are not who you were. You are who you decide to be today. New game, new rules, new path. And the moment you choose to go, you'll discover you've been ready all along. And maybe, just maybe, you could have stayed looking out that window, dreaming of change, wishing things were different, waiting for answers that never seemed to arrive. But you didn't. You chose to go, and in that choice, you became something more. Suddenly, what once felt complicated now feels simple, not because the road got easier, but because you got stronger. You've learned to trust, not in the path, but in your own feet, your own courage, your own fire. In this journey called life, there are those who wait, and those who build, those who hope, and those who go. And while perfection is never promised, progress always is. When you move forward, even without the answers, you peel back the curtain and glimpse what's possible. You step outside the limited shell of your physical self and into the infinite potential of your mind. That's where the real transformation lives. That's where the new you is born. How do we know who we're meant to be? We don't until we move. We don't until we try. We don't until we look back and realize that what we once feared is now just a memory, and what we once hoped for is now our reality. So go, make your mistakes, feel your pain and your joy. Because in doing so, you're doing the one thing most people never get to do. Truly live. We talk about someday like it's this faraway place. But take a look around. You're living it. Right now. This moment, this version of you, was once just a wish whispered to the stars. And yes, your dreams have grown. That's okay. That's beautiful. Because you've grown too. But don't forget, what you have today was once a someday you thought might never come. It matters that you remember how far you've come, because the moment you forget, doubt creeps in. And doubt is blind. It doesn't see the miles you've run, the demons you've faced, the courage you summoned. But you know, you've been through fire. You've turned fear into focus. You've brought ideas to life with nothing more than faith and persistence. You did that. You crawled when you had to. You ran when you could. You kept going and arrived at a someday that once only lived in your imagination. So don't ever believe that this gift ends now. Don't ever think the mountain ahead is too tall. You've climbed higher. You've done it for yourself. You've done it for those you love. You've done it even when no one believed. Even when they doubted, even when you doubted. So yes, the road ahead is uncertain, but that doesn't matter. Because like a bird spreading its wings, you adapt, you adjust, you fly. You were never meant to have all the answers. You were meant to find them along the way, to build the bridge with every step, to shape reality from the invisible. And someday, you will have what you're reaching for. But here's the deal. Don't let today slip away. Chasing a someday that depends on a version of you that hasn't yet been born. You are already living out a dream from your past. Already standing on a finish line while getting ready for the next starting gun. So if you ever forget, if doubt ever knocks again, just look over your shoulder. Look at how far you've come, how much you've endured, and how many somedays you've already brought to life. You are the architect of what comes next. You are the creator of a future only you can build. So go, not because it's easy, not because it's certain, but because that's who you are. So let this be the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop doubting, the moment you finally say, I am ready to choose yourself, to believe in your journey, to step forward, not with fear, but with fire. Because the world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs you, fully alive, fully present, fully you. You are not here by accident. You are here because something deep within you knows it's time. So whatever your someday is, start building it today. One step, one choice, one breath at a time. And if this message spoke to you, even just a little, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to let the message live on. Share it with someone who needs to hear this right now. And subscribe to the power within, because this is only the beginning. Every week we go deeper. Together we rise. You've come so far already. Now imagine how far you can go when you finally realize the power was always within you. I'm glad you're here. I'm proud of you. Now,